Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 29, 2022 regular Board of Trustees meeting of the Dufferin-Peel Catholic District School Board. The agenda for this meeting has been posted on our website. We also welcome those who are watching and listening to this meeting via YouTube. Calling the meeting to order, attendance, all the trustees are in attendance, and our student trustees are also here. Thank you. So we would like to thank and recognize the talents of Martine Ortiz Luis, Giveaway Thomas, and Soul Power Productions. We thank them for sharing their talents with us. Please feel free to join in singing our national anthem. Please stand.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts, we see thee rise, the true North strong and from far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land, glorious and glorious, and oh Canada, we stand on guard for Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Let's remember the students, staff, trustees, and family members of staff and trustees who have recently passed away, and keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let the perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen. I ask Trustee Paula Dameto Giovanazzi to lead us in prayer.
God of power and mercy, as we prepare this Advent season for the birth of our Savior, open our hearts in welcome. Remove the things that hinder us from receiving Christ with joy, so that we may share his wisdom and become one with him when he comes in glory. For he lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. May I ask Trustee Anisha Thomas to please read the land acknowledgement.
We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of being stewards of this traditional territory.
Thank you. So next item is our agenda. I just want to point out that there is a taupe sheet that went out. So this has been added. The H1 has been distributed with the taupe sheet and correction on M1, and distributed tonight M4B and M5B.
Question I have to ask, M6 or H6.
Yeah. It's in the taupe sheet packet. So if you look at your taupe sheet, there are pages that follows behind it with the print. Okay. So it's in the taupe sheet packet that went out. So all of you in your computer, that's where you can find it. So moved by Trustee Mario Pascucci, agenda with amendments, right? And could I have a seconder? Seconded by Trustee Sean Xavier. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. No declaration of interest, Madam Chair? No. And So the next item is the approval of minutes of the regular board meeting of October. Was there an item of declaration?
Through the chair, we stand corrected. Through the chair, declared interest item is A7L1.
Thank you, Trustee Anika. So in that regard, could I have anybody with declared interest? Trustee Anika? Trustee Stefano Pascucci? Trustee Maria
Thank you,
Pascucci?
Madam Chair.
Anybody else? No. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, a motion to move the declared. Through the chair, a motion to move the declared items to section L.
So motion to move the declared interest item to item L, moved by Trustee Bria Corbett, seconded by Trustee Darrell D'Souza. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, so it's moved to L. Okay, item number 7. I just want to point out that there is a business arising from the minutes that's attached to your minutes tonight. Could I have somebody move the approval of minutes of the regular board meeting of October 25, 2022?
Through the
moved by-
chair, less
Less
the declared item. And can I just remind trustees, you're going to have to speak into your mic so that they can be heard on the live stream?
Make sure you turn on your.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, so it's less declared interest item, moved by Trustee Thomas, seconded by Trustee Anisha Thomas. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next item, item number 8, is the approval of minutes of the inaugural meeting of November 22, 2022. I have somebody move. Moved by Trustee Bruno Anika, seconded by Trustee Paula D'Amato Giovanazzi. I'm getting there. All in favor? Thank you. And the item number 9 is the approval of minutes of the special board meeting of November 8, 2022. Moved by Trustee Stefano Pascucci, seconded by Trustee Paula D'Amato Giovanazzi. All in favor? Here, thank you. Item B of our agenda, pastor's remarks, video presentation by Monsignor Shields.
Through the chair, prior to sharing the video presentation by Monsignor Shields, the theme this month is Remembering Our Purpose. I ask for a receipt.
Moved by Trustee Darrell D'Souza, seconded by Trustee Shaw. All in favor? Approved.
This evening in November, our prayer service will focus on remembering our purpose. We are here this evening because of what we believe in, that is the Catholic education of our children. It is important that we continue to educate the whole person and faith development as an integral part of the process. You know and I know that we have the support of the church in our quest to instill the religious values of our Catholic faith into the hearts and minds of our students. Thank the Lord that we have women and men like yourselves who truly see and want to have solid Catholic teaching within our schools. As trustees, your faith speaks through your heart in whatever we can to enhance and follow through with our Lord's way of life. Not an easy task, but a noble venture for all of us. From experience and sharing with my confreres, your mission and your faith make these teachings of Jesus possible. And they daily become the reality of Catholic teaching in our schools. For your time and talent and kind energy, may you continue to be the signs of hope and faith for all our students. There's a very beautiful hymn which we will now listen to and pray through as a reflection of remembering and our important times in remembering.
There's a time for remembering, a time to recall the trials and the triumphs, the fears and the falls. There's a time to be grateful for moments so blessed, the jewels of our memory, where love is our guest. There is treasure in our fields, there is treasure in our skies, there is treasure in our dreaming, from the soul to the eye. For wherever we gather in the light of God's grace, and for all whom we remember, there will ever be a place. There's a promise of God that is written in the stars for all who may travel, no matter how far. God will be your companion each journey you make, in the shadow of loved ones to lighten your way. There is treasure in our fields, there is treasure in our skies, there is treasure in our dreaming, from the soul to the eye. For wherever we gather in the light of God's grace, and for all whom we remember, there will ever be
Father in heaven, we thank you by faith for circumstances we can't always control, people we can't always change, and regrets that we can't undo. For these things direct us to Jesus in ways we otherwise wouldn't choose for ourselves. Though we'd rather be self-sufficient, you call us to be Christ-dependent. Though we'd rather be the author of our stories, you've made us characters in your story. Though we'd rather be the in charge potter, you've made us to be the malleable clay. By your Holy Spirit, give us joy in our weaknesses, trust in our weariness, and gratitude in all things. Amen.
Madam Director, that's a very, would you kindly convey our thanks to Monsignor? It's a very, very good homily. I find it's really appropriate and timely, especially we're renewing our purpose, we're being reelected and all that. It's really timely.
Through the chair, I would be pleased to do so.
Thank you. Next item in the agenda, Madam Director.
Through the chair, we have no awards of presentations or delegations. We're moving to Section E, which is the updates and information reports from trustees for receipt. E1A is the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association report.
Oh, thank you. I will pass on the chair to Trustee Thomas. So OXA update. A few weeks ago, OXA sent to all trustees information on OXA advocacy priorities, the location and website. The association briefs to the government are now located under the main menu heading Advocacy, which is positioned at the top of each page. It contained in each these briefs are the association's current priorities as they relate to the focus or subject of the brief. Just a reminder, OXA short video contest for students as a follow-up to an earlier announcement regarding the annual OXA short video contest for students in grades 4 to 12. Please note that students are invited to create a 2-minute video highlighting acts of Christian service to others that give witness to our faith and celebrates the Catholic Education Week, the theme for 2023. We are many, we are one. Contest details and the submission form are on the OXA website. As you are all aware, OXA represents us at bargaining table as part of Council Associations of Trustees. Recently, the Council Association of Trustees and CUPE reached a tentative agreement and the members are now voting to ratify. After that, the boards will also vote to ratify. Other groups are either on the table continuing to negotiate and others finalizing the structure and process for negotiation. OXA Board of Directors are scheduled to meet on Friday, December 2nd, so more updates to follow after this meeting. And lastly, I encourage trustees to attend the Ontario Catholic Trustees Seminar to be held on January 20 to 21, 2023. If you are able to attend, please ask Ms. Michelle Vritsios to register for you. For our new trustees, this professional development seminar provides speakers on relevant topics like equity and inclusion, code of conduct, the role of the Catholic School Board, and school community safety strategies. We also have keynote address by David Wells on Catholic school trustees, placing Christ at the center. This concludes my report and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
To receive the Ontario Catholic School Trustees report, moved by Bruno and second by Sean. All in favor? So,
Back to me.
back to you.
Through the chair, 1B is the student voice report.
Good evening, trustees, staff, and public attendees. My name is Leroy Noha, the student trustee for the north of DPCDSB.
And my name is Dea Sokoli, the student trustee for the south of the DPCDSB. This evening, we would like to present our November of Student Voice report. November has truly been a time of change. As we come on to these winter months, we reflect on what it means to be a student in the Catholic education system.
In November, we held a moment of silence for the fallen soldiers who fought for our freedoms. We held initiatives to combat social pressures and isolation during the National Bullying Prevention Week. Schools started preparing seniors with the prospects of their future by hosting successful university and college fairs. Black Students Associations all over DPCDSB want to celebrate Black excellency in a viewing of the second Black Panther movie. For the community service, we would like to thank St. Joan of Arc's Community Club, their students volunteering at Regeneration Soup Kitchen. We also want to recognize St. Augustine, who worked with Canadian Blood Services to provide blood and plasma donations. November marks the start of many festivities from student morale, one of which is the semi-formals that have started to take place.
We are so ecstatic to present a follow-up to our Student Voice Conference that we held last Thursday, November 24th. The conference was aimed towards junior students of DPCDSB, as we believe that the student leaders of today must set a path to ensure that we create creative, outspoken, and giving leaders of tomorrow. We had over 270 people in attendance, which is really incredible. This is the first time the conference has run since pre-pandemic times, and so we all put our best efforts into making it as enjoyable and educational as possible. The Student Senate gave a wonderful liturgy and neatly led their respective schools towards workshops. We had Sam Dema as a keynote speaker and a workshop leader, along with Desiree McKenzie, who provided excellent spoken word workshop, and Joel Hilchi, whose magic and remarks gave a great sense to how to communicate properly in leadership roles. All in all, we are so happy to have heard great feedback from the conference, and we are really grateful for the opportunity to plan an MC.
Student Senate met on November 16th for its monthly meeting, in which they held final preparations for the Student Voice Conference that they had just talked about. Senators each played a pivotal role in ensuring that their conference ran smoothly and that the invitees had a memorable experience. The Senators also continued exploring ways in which our student voice governance can be improved. Keeping in mind that we're entering the examination season in all secondary schools, the Senate is working with the program department to ensure that students are provided the support needed to be successful in all their courses. We'd like to bring attention to the fact that it seems that many schools have received the menstrual products dispensers as noted by the Senate updates. This is such an important initiative that we're happy to see play out within our schools. In addition, we are working to improve our Student Senate social media presence so that we are able to effectively build another venue of communication with students around our board. Day and I truly believe that an engaged student community only strengthens student advocacy.
And so that concludes our November Student Voice Report. Thank you for listening. We appreciate your time and attentiveness. If anyone has any questions or comments, we'd be happy to take them now.
Are there any questions for student trustees? No? No questions. So thank you. That's a very good report. You did have a lot of activities that you've shared. Moved by Trustee Thomas. Have a seconder, please. Seconded by Trustee Sean Xavier. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
To the chair, 1C is good news items.
Are there any good news report that you want to share? No good news? No? Could I pass it on to you? I just have like a brief good news that I want to share. Thank you. I just want to share, congratulate St. Marcellinus Drumline. They actually participated in the recently Toronto Santa Claus Parade, and it's very proud parents, very happy to see their children walking on the path of Santa Claus Parade there. So I think that was last Sunday or the previous Sunday. So I just want to share that with everybody. Thank you. That's it.
So to receive this good news items, moved by Herman and second by Paula. All in favor?
Through the chair, we're now moving to section F. F1 is the minutes of the Administration and Finance Committee meeting of October 4th, 2022 for receipt.
Moved by Trustee Stefano Pascucci,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
seconded by Trustee Mario Pascucci. Thank you, Madam Chair. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
F2 are the minutes of the Faith and Program Committee meeting of October 11, 2022 for receipt.
Moved by Trustee Sean Xavier, seconded by Trustee Daryl D'Souza. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
F3, minutes of the Central Committee for Catholic School Councils meeting September 8, 2022 for receipt.
Moved by Trustee Stefano Pascucci, seconded by Paula D'Amato. All in favor?
F4, minutes of the Special Education Advisory Committee meeting of October 19, 2022 for receipt.
Moved by Trustee Bruno Aenica, seconded by Trustee Anisha Thomas. All in favor? Thank you.
Madam Chair, we have no items under Section G. We're moving to Section H, sorry. H1 is the revised policy 6.59 school graduations. This is found on page 70 of your e-agenda. And before Superintendent Vecchierino presents this revised policy, I ask for receipt.
Moved by trustee Darrell D'Souza, seconded by trustee Herman Beloria. All in favor? Carried.
Good evening, everyone. Continuing through the chair, and as noted by our director on page 70 of your agenda package, Dufferin Peel supports students' faith and education journey in all aspects of what they do from the time they enter school until they leave for outside of school vocations. And we know that among the important milestones that we support for students in their schools are their graduations. We have a policy 6.59 titled School Graduations. It has an associated general administrative procedure, school graduations as well, and this outlines how our graduations are planned and executed. We know, as I mentioned earlier, that graduations, both from elementary and secondary, represent important milestones, school events for all of our students. And the policy and gap represent how we work through these to ensure that they are as memorable and as well executed for all of our students. In the recent review process, updates to this policy, which would have been brought forward to the October 18 meeting of the Bylaw Policies Review Committee meeting, and the minutes for which were not approved at the October 25th board meeting, there was an incorrect inclusion to the gap revision. As gaps and associated policies are to be reviewed by and passed by you, the Board of Trustees, we are now presenting for approval the revised gap, the correct revised gap, which ought to have been included the last time. No other changes were made to the policy or to the gap. The gap is now appended for your reference, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? No? Okay, so we have a second motion to this presentation, that the Board of Trustees approve and enact policy 6.59, school graduations as amended. Could I have somebody move? Moved by trustee Bria Corbett, seconded by trustee Bruno Yanika. All in favor? Carried.
Through the chair, H2 is the motion recommended by the Administration and Finance Committee meeting of November 8th, 2022. That's on page 84 of your e-agenda.
That the Board of Trustees approve the revised policy 5.25, student trustees, and enact as amended. Could I have somebody move? Proceed.
So I move.
Moved by trustee Thomas. You have a question?
Madam Chair, can we get a recorded vote for this so Dea and I could be on the record?
It's asking for a recorded.
If I may, Madam Chair, point of procedure. Through you, Madam Chair, to the director, but I believe that would be out of order. But we can have a trustee ask on his behalf. You may want to check with the director.
Through the chair, a student trustee may ask for a recorded vote.
I apologize for being wrong.
Thank you. So, a question? Moved by trustee Thomas, seconded by trustee Darrell D'Souza. Okay, as a recorded vote, do we all stand? Whoever.
Through the chair, that's correct.
As a recorded vote is requested, so we need to stand if we approve right? Okay, so all in favor?
Through the chair, we're now moving to H3, which is the motions recommended by the Audit Committee of November 8, 2022 on page 91.
So we have that the Board of Trustees approved the consolidated financial statements and related information of Dufferin Peel Catholic District School Board for the year ended August 31, 2022, as amended. Moved by Trustee Darrell D'Souza, seconded by Trustee Anisha Thomas. All in favor? The second motion from the Audit Committee, that the Board of Trustees approve the Regional Internal Audit Team 2022-2024 Audit Plan.
So I move.
Moved by Trustee Thomas, seconded by Trustee Sean Xavier. All in favor? Thank you.
Through the chair, we're now moving to H4, which is the 2023 Board Committee composition. Okay. The Administration and Finance Committee comprises all 11 trustees. The Audit Committee is comprised of 3 trustees. Interest has been expressed by Trustee Anika, Trustee Anisha Thomas, and Trustee Thomas. There has been no other expression of interest for that committee, so you have the 3 trustees that you need for that committee. The Faith and Program Committee, again, is another one where all 11 trustees sit on that. The Contract and Negotiations Committee are all trustees without a conflict, and all those 7 trustees are on that committee. The Board Bylaw and the Multi-Year Strategic Plan, again, has all trustees on that committee, including the student trustees. The Discipline, Expulsions, and Suspension Appeals is 11 trustees who are called as needed, depending on the nature of the expulsion appeal or suspension appeal. The Supervised Alternative Learning Committee requires 1 trustee and 1 alternative. We've had 3 trustees express an interest. Trustee Luz Del Rosario, Trustee Stefano Pascucci, and Trustee Thomas.
I can drop out.
Okay. The Special Education Advisory Committee requires 2 trustees and 2 alternates. Currently, we have 3 trustees who've expressed an interest: Trustee Del Rosario, Trustee Thomas, and Trustee Herman Valoria.
Right. Would you like to be the alternative, or would you like to be the co-chair?
Right.
Well, yeah.
Bruno?
I'm willing to be your co-chair if,
Bruno, I don't have any problem for that.
are you going to be the co-chair or just chair? You be the alternate.
Alternate.
I'll be your co-chair, Trustee Anika, if you would like to be a chair. So that means there's always. Yeah, oh yeah. You'll be an alternate. You and me.
Through the chair, I want to take us back to the Supervised Alternative Learning Committee. Well, we have identified 2 trustees. We need to know who's going to be the primary one and who's going to be the alternate.
Stefano, you are going to be the leader.
Okay.
I can be the primary. Do you,
Through you, Madam Chair, do you want to be the alternate? Trustee Thomas? Okay, there it is. Yeah, I will be the primary and Trustee Thomas as I'm telling him to.
Okay.
Through the chair, the Central Committee for Catholic School Councils, again, 2 trustees have identified interest in it. We need one to be the primary and one to be the alternate. That would be between Stefano Pascucci and Trustee Thomas.
Your choice.
Who's the primary?
I will be primary, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, if that's okay with Trustee.
I don't have any problem.
He's already saying he's alternate.
Yes?
Support you 100%.
All right. Okay, next item.
Through the chair, the Performance Planning and Review Committee for the Director of Education, the chair of the board and the vice chair of the board are both on it. It also asks for at least 3 additional trustees. Trustee Herman Valoria and Trustee Mario Pascucci have both expressed interest. Not sure if there's anyone else.
More.
Trustee Daryl
Darryl
D'Souza.
D'Souza?
He's coming on, I'm going on.
The Dufferin Peel Friends and Advocates for Catholic Education. There's no restriction on the number of trustees that can be on it. 3 trustees have expressed an interest in it. Chair Luz Del Rosario, Trustee Anisha Thomas, and Trustee Thomas. The Secondary School Scholarships and Awards Committee requires 1 trustee and 1 alternate. There are 6 trustees who have expressed an interest in this committee.
It's the board.
I'll drop out, Madam Director.
I drop out that, Madam Chair.
I can drop out as well, Madam Chair.
Nobody else could drop out now. So between Trustee Anisha Thomas and Trustee Herman Valoria, we're looking for the primary and the alternate. Yes.
Yes.
Volunteering.
I would be the alternate.
Great. Through the chair, the Challenged Material Committee, and it's 2 trustees, and we've had 2 trustees that have expressed an interest in this committee. Trustee Paula D'Amato Giovanozzi and Trustee Sean Xavier. The Stop Our Governance Committee requires 1 trustee. We have 2 trustees who've expressed an interest, Trustee Anisha Thomas and Trustee Thomas.
I would like to remove myself.
Sorry?
She's learning.
She withdraw.
She withdrew.
She learned.
The School Year Calendar Committee requires 1 trustee and 1 alternate. We have 4 trustees that have expressed an interest in it.
I'll withdraw, Madam Director.
You do the,
Through the chair, we have the 2 trustees, so we need a primary and an alternate. Trustee Bruno Ionica and Trustee Herman Valoria. The Joint Ad Hoc Transportation Committee requires 2 trustees, and we have 2 trustees, Trustee Anisha Thomas and Trustee Thomas.
Because I don't need to be there because already on the governance committee. So we need another 2. Right?
what do you mean? You're in stop.
Yeah. Stop at
Through the chair, we do need 1 more.
Just 1 more. Anybody else?
It rarely meets. It hardly ever meets.
Oh, there.
Darren.
There you go.
The Brampton Board of Trade, that would be the 3 trustees that represent Brampton, Trustee Anisha Thomas, Trustee Daryl D'Souza, and Trustee Sean Xavier. The Mississauga Board of Trade has representation from all the trustees in Mississauga, and those are identified there. The Brampton School Traffic Safety Council is 1 trustee and 1 alternate. We do have the 1 trustee, which is Sean Xavier. Is there anyone who's interested in being the alternate? And this is the Brampton School Traffic
It's Bram.
Safety Council.
Anisha?
The Mississauga Traffic Safety Council, again, 1 trustee, 1 alternate, 4 trustees have expressed an interest in it.
I'll withdraw my name.
I withdraw.
She's learning. Well done.
We need, who's going to be the primary and who's going to be the alternate?
Priya, you want the primary?
I was just going to say I would like to be the primary. Thank you, Trustee Thomas.
Thank you.
The Oxted directors, so this is a 2-year term, and currently Chair Del Rosario continues until 2024. But because the other director, which was the former chair of the board, Trustee Sharon Hoban, has resigned, it does leave us with an opening. 3 trustees have expressed an interest in this position, Trustee Mario Pascucci, Trustee Herman Valoria, and Trustee Sean Xavier.
Question to that, Madam Chair, if I may? Yes, please. Thank you. If I may, question I have to ask is that to what date? Is it 2003 or 2004?
Through the chair, excuse me, it will take you to 2023 and then, or sorry, to 2024, the rest of the term, and then it'll be up.
This
again.
has only been like an 8-month at this point since.
That's correct.
Whatever. Thank you.
Just finishing.
No, I understand. Thank you.
Okay. So we have,
Likewise, Madam Chair.
so Trustee Mario Pascucci and Trustee Herman Viloria withdrew their names. So we're left with Trustee Sean.
Through the chair, the Peel Safe and Active Routes to School requires 2 trustees, 4 trustees have expressed an interest.
I would like to withdraw.
I'd like to withdraw my name too. Actually, Madam Director, I don't think this committee ever meet. I think for so many years, for so many years, I did sign up on this and I tried to find out when meeting is and all, but I couldn't find the contact or anything.
Through the chair, we can look into that. But in the meantime, actually, it doesn't require alternates, it just requires 2 people to sit on that committee. But we'll look into the concern that you've raised, Chair Del Rosario. The Natural Science and Education Committee, the Toronto Regional Conservation Authority, this term is to 2025, and Trustee Thomas currently holds that position.
So the motion to this now is that the report 2023 Board Committee composition be approved. Could I have a mover? Moved by Trustee Darrell D'Souza, seconded by Trustee Mario Pascucci. All in favor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Director, Madam Director, terms of references, are they going to be approved at the first meeting as usual?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Trustee Sean Xavier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. If we can send, I know every year we put the trustees on the Brampton Board of Trade and the Mississauga Board of Trade. Is there something where we can send a letter, just like how we send it to our mayors for the Brampton Board of Trade, like the chairman, saying, hey, these are our trustees. We're looking forward to kind of working together. Moving forward. Through you, Madam Chair.
Through the chair, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Through the chair, we're now moving to H5. And this is the nominations for membership on the Special Education Advisory Committee, and I ask for receipt before Superintendent Papaloni presents this report.
Moved by Trustee Bruno Ainica,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Thomas. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Good evening, through the chair. As per Ontario Regulation 46497, under the Education Act, the Special Education Advisory Committee consists of representatives of local association in the board's area of jurisdiction as nominated by the local association and appointed by the Board of Trustees. The nominees for the 2023-2026 term from local associations are listed below, and it's on page 133 of your agenda, and they have provided a supporting letter attesting to their qualification. And their request is that this report be approved and received.
Are there any questions to Superintendent Papaloni? Trustee Anika?
Madam Chair, just one question. This is just the associations, correct? Does not represent the CSAC membership or any other membership. Would I have that correct?
This would represent the appointed people from the association, and that would comprise the entire SEAC committee. However, the SEAC committee is open to all members of the public.
So if a member from the central committee was appointed or voted to attend this or be part of this, would we approve that as well, or is that it just happened? Because the central committee approved it.
That would be appointed by CSAC.
And we would just accept and move without going through this process?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, clarification? No, so the second motion is that the nominations for membership on the Special Education Advisory Committee be approved. Do I have a mover? Moved by Trustee Anika, seconded by Trustee Paula D'Amato Giambanozzi. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Through the chair, H6 is the motion recommended by Trustee Mario Pascucci, October 25th, 2022. This would be included in your taupe sheet package.
What page is it on?
It's on page 2 of the taupe sheet. So if you
That
look
was
at-
the concern I have, is my taupe sheet. All I have is the taupe sheet, not part of the,
there are attachments
but,
in it.
but there was a reason regarding printing. Okay, Madam Chair, if I may move that motion, if I may?
Okay, let me read the motion then. That the Board of Trustees requests staff to prepare a report on the current programs and delivery models for international languages and include in the report recommendations for future programs and delivery modes. The report is to be prepared for the May 2023 regular board meeting. Moved by Trustee Mario Pascucci, seconded by Trustee Stefano Pascucci. All in favor? Carried.
I'd like to say this opportunity to say thank you to everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay. No
Through the chair, H7 are the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association resolutions of 2023. Before Superintendent Vecchiarino presents these, I ask for receipt.
Could I have Trustee Sean Xavier move receipt, seconded by Trustee Herman Viloria? All in favor?
And these resolutions are on page 134.
Hello again, and continuing through the chair. As trustees are aware, the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association requests all boards, all Catholic boards in the province, to provide draft resolutions for consideration at their annual general meeting, this year to be held in the spring of 2023. This process allows member boards to provide input into items which would have provincial implications, i.e. affecting all of the Catholic school boards in the province. This year's deadline for submission is January the 27th, 2023, and based on trustee input, 2 resolutions have been developed and submitted for review. They are attached to the report, and I'm happy to take any questions with regards to them.
Trustee Mario Pascucci?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for doing this. It's appreciated. The fact of the matter is that we're always so ahead of ourselves on this kind of stuff. We continue to be role models to the communities. One question I'm going to be asking a little later on in the Q&A is regarding this new bill, Bill 23, and its reaction to or effect to the board. I'd like to talk to our director when the time comes after I have our conversation with the associate director. I have a suspicious feeling this is going to affect this board adversely in terms of our funding, et cetera. So I need more information, so I'd like to have a motion created potentially once our discussion on the Q&A component of the committee meeting. So I just wanted to mention that.
So for this resolution, we're looking for mover and second.
I'll move, Madam Chair.
Second that.
Okay, so for technology funding, the mover is trustee Mario Pascucci, and seconder is trustee Thomas. Everybody agree? All in favor? Thank you. The second resolution is on municipal voting. So we're looking for a trustee to move this resolution, moved by trustee Daryl D'Souza, seconded by trustee Bruno Ainica. All in favor? Question, trustee Ainica?
I do. Just with regards to resolution number 3, the Board of Trustees approved the submission, the technology funding resolution. At the at SEAC, the last meeting that we had, because I explained to them some of the challenges, as was explained to us, of the renewal and the fact that the funding is not refreshed as it was as the funding that we got pre-COVID and during COVID. So, and that particular committee, the parents asked, and I said that I would ask because that's my responsibility, if there was anything that they could do to assist the board in getting funding for the technology that we require, the renewal of it, that they would be more than happy to help in any way, shape, or form. And I won't speak for the central committee, but I am sure, knowing that group as well, that they would be on the same boat, that they would say, sign me up. Anything that parents can do to help. And I know that these are only resolutions, but at some point, my other point with regards to the municipal voting resolution, if other OXTA membership did not have the same challenges that I'll use my community for, well, the community of this board that I represent, the challenges that they had, it might fail, and that's it. We're done. We won't hear about it ever again. But if we move forward with it as a board, should this fail, then I would like us to move forward and get the answers that we all had pre-election and post-election, and the experiences that some of our parents called and explained to us the challenges that they had that evening. I know I have a family that moved into the St. Timothy area. 2 of the kids go to St. Timothy's. The mother and father go to vote, and they're given a public ballot. At which point, she went home and told her dad, because he was watching the kids, and he phoned me right away and said, this is what happened. I said, explain to me what happened, and they, exactly the way that I said it. So there was some challenges with and how voters are identified in the city of Mississauga's system or impact, whichever of the two is responsible for the voters list. From what I've experienced from my community and in talking to 10 of my other colleagues, they've experienced the same thing. And in fact, one of them was a parish priest that was given a public support document. So, I'm looking for, if this fails at OXTA, what are we going to do about it as well, from an impact perspective or getting it addressed? And I mean, I can ask it during questions asked of, because these are only motions that are going forward, and I know it convolutes the process, so I can wait for that, but I will ask it during questions asked of by. And this kind of jogged my memory, because it's a big issue, and if we're not getting funded for some of the ratepayers that we actually have, then it might be a bigger issue than we thought, but it does affect the voting process.
Through the chair on both items, so for the technology and advocating on behalf of Dufferin Peel for sustainable funding for technology, if that's something that the Central Committee of Catholic School Council wants to put forward to the Ministry of Education, staff can support them in that regard. And I think that is a helpful voice because it is representing all school councils throughout the system and representing the voice of the parents in terms of what, you know, their concerns are. And on the other point around the voter eligibility, again, if the Central Committee for Catholic School Councils as well wants to, from a perspective of parents, express some concern in regards to the inaccuracy of voter lists, then again, staff can help them through that committee if they so desire.
And if I may, Madam Chair, on the item of the technology, it was both, well, again, I won't speak for CSAC. I heard it firsthand from SEAC, but as I indicated before, knowing that committee, because I sat on the Central Committee for Catholic School Councils, they would be, in a heartbeat, they would be more than willing, I shouldn't speak, but my guess would be that they would be more than willing to do whatever they could to assist the board in both those items. So again, one of them was a dual, and the other one, if it's from a voting perspective, if it's just the Central Committee, so be it. But the other one, it was both committees well, one committee that I spoke to directly that said, whatever you need, let us know. And maybe Stefano and Wayne can take it back to the Central Committee and have that conversation with them to see if they're on board, and then move forward with whatever direction comes out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Trustee Stefano Pastucci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, great. Superintendent Brunton and myself will speak about it. Trustee Sack, thank you.
Are there any other comments? So do we still have we have a couple of motions that we have to do. Do we still have to do that one?
Yes, through the chair, I believe you worked through one.
Yes, we're doing number 2, that the Board of Trustees approve for submission the municipal voting resolution. Moved by Trustee Anisha Thomas, seconded by Trustee Stefano Pastucci. All in favor? Carried. And item number 3, motion number 3, that the Board of Trustees approve for submission the technology funding resolution. Moved by Trustee Bria Corbett, seconded by Trustee Herman Veloria. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Through the chair, there's no notices of motion or additional business. We're moving to section K, which is the questions asked of and by trustees.
Okay, section K, 8 question asked of and by trustees. I'm making a list. I have Trustee Bruno Aenica, Trustee Stefano Pastucci, Trustee Sean Xavier. Any other question? Trustee Maria Pastucci. Okay, let's start with Trustee Aenica, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A number of our schools that are secondary schools that don't have as many bus sets as some of the others, they have to, unfortunately, take taxi transportation. In one instance that I know of, they had to wait 2 hours for a taxi. When they called back after an hour and they were told it'll be 45 minutes, and they called back after an hour, they were told it was going to be another hour, which, as you can appreciate, after staff and the students spent all day doing their activity, waiting 2 hours for a cab is a bit of a challenge. And my question is, can schools utilize Uber transportation to and from events? And if not, why not?
Through the chair, the board is in a cooperative arrangement with the Peel District School Board with regard to taxi services. And schools should be using the taxi companies made known to them, and it would be a risk to the contract agreement. So we have a contract that we jointly share with Peel District School Board if they started using Uber services.
Madam Chair, if I could, how long is that contract for? Approximately. I mean, I don't need, another year, 2 years, whatever.
Through the chair, the current term is to end August 31st, 2023. However, there is an option year that can be enacted. But currently, August 23.
And when we did the investigation, and it's kind of an unfair question, but I'll ask it, and if staff has an answer, great. Did we look at utilizing or allowing to utilize Uber? Was that part of the equation and costs for that matter, to be able to access Uber to get to and from functions?
So through the chair, and my apologies, I missed the first part, but I believe you're asking, was Uber part of the cooperative arrangement when they were entering into it?
Well, was it ever part of the equation on taxis or Uber or an amalgamation of either, whatever was available?
So through the chair, at the time the cooperative was entered into, no, I don't believe Uber came into the equation. That's a newer type of transportation through the system. It's not that it's not something we can investigate in the future. There is a lot of concern with regards to the use of Uber, especially when it comes to criminal reference checks for those types of drivers, having students in the vehicle with them, and really just the payment processing of it all as well. But it's something we can look at. I'm just not sure. There's a lot of difficulties around it as well.
Madam Chair, if I could ask that when staff look at renewing, that become part of the equation, because at some point a teacher is going to say, I don't mind spending all day and getting up early, getting to wherever. Now I have to spend an extra 2 hours waiting for a cab. And it's not just the teacher, it's the kids as well. When an Uber could take also 2 hours, but if we could just look at it in the future, that would be most appreciated.
Sure, and through the chair, it'd be also helpful to receive the comments back through supply chain when something of that nature happens, so that we can address it with the company.
In the contract, is there a time frame that they have to respond by?
Through the chair, present, I don't know, I'd have to look into it, but definitely if there's a delay of that nature, we would discuss that with the vendor.
Okay. Sure. My second question, if I could, Madam Chair. I know that school buses that have I know that schools have buses that they transport students to and from school events at other schools. What is the insurance value / coverage? And do we know, or do we have for the buses, and are our teachers liable should something happen? So what is the level of insurance that the school board has for the busette? And if I have 25 kids on a busette, and God forbid something happened, at what stage does the insurance stop? Say it's $24 million, but there's 25 kids, and we get sued for $25 million. Who pays that extra million? Is there a limit on the liability to the school board? And what happens if it's above that liability?
So through the chair, school boards, we have coverage, we have liability insurance under OSB, which is our Ontario School Board Insurance Exchange provider. We would have a limited liability in place. I don't know the exact amount, maybe 25 million or not, but anything that would have happened with an employee on a busette, especially if they're traveling for board purpose, school-related purpose, would be covered under our insurance. But there is a limited liability. I just don't have the exact amount.
So if there's a limited liability and we exceed that liability and Bruno's driving the bus, Bruno liable for anything above that liability?
So again, through the chair, no, the insurance company would then have to pay the rest of that above our limited liability, especially if the driver, said Trustee Bruno, was driving based on a school event or board-sanctioned event that they were doing.
If I could, Madam Chair, it might be prudent for us to educate our principals on that item, on liability, because there are some concerns with drivers on liability. They do it, they continue to do it because it's all for the kids, but we may want to clarify and make it very clear, because right now I think it's as clear as mud, based on what I'm hearing, and not from principals, from drivers that are saying, I don't know why I do this, because, you know, based on the question that I asked. So if we can look at that. And Madam Chair, my last, I have a question in camera, but my last question.
Excuse me, point of order, you gotta go through me. Do we have a comment to, with regards to that item?
Yeah, that part yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Chair, the last, can staff look at a policy for regional schools and newsletters that go out from regional schools? Because I've seen regional school send out emails, and in some cases, it's from 2 trustees, in other cases, it's from the chair. Can we have something consistent for all regional schools so that, I don't know, whether it goes out under the signature of the chair with the trustees' names, all trustees' names, because a regional school belongs to all trustees. So staff look at that and bring something back to policy and bylaw when it's time.
Through the chair, we will.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Stefano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, to the director or associate director, whoever wants to answer it. Just wondering if you can provide an update, not right now, in issues, events, or a future board meeting or minute finance, doesn't matter. It's been about 4 years now, plus, and I've been asking about using our schools for trees to plant in our school, because of the programs that are out there, to utilize our high schools that have greenhouses. Still haven't got anything 4 years later. Just wondering if you can get me an update either through issues and events or through the next meeting.
Through the chair, we'll put something in issues and events.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next question is through you, Madam Chair. Last meeting, we discussed, I forget which one it was, regarding the voters list, back to Trustee Bruno Nika's comments. Have you reached out to MPAC to see if they have any background of what's happened, or if there's any way we can have somebody come out and explain how their list is created?
Through the chair, we are working on having someone from MPAC come out and address the Board of Trustees.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pucci. Trustee Sean Xavier.
Thank you, Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to staff, could we, recently now with our schools, we've been having a lot of, compared to the past, there's been a lot more situations where we are having lockdowns and hold and secures happening within our schools. I've had a couple parents actually reach out just because the verbiage on lockdowns and hold and secures is starting to kind of get combined and people aren't understanding the difference between the two. So my first question through you, Madam Chair, would be when we do our grade 9 presentations at the beginning of the year or to the parents and community, could we ensure that every high school adds a slide within their PowerPoint at this orientation to kind of talk about the difference between a lockdown and a hold and secure?
Through the chair, we can do that.
Thank you. And if there's any other way to kind of send some verbiage out, especially some schools that have been having these lockdowns and hold and secures on a more constant basis, if we can send something out to our families just so that they understand the difference between the lockdowns and the hold and secures. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Mario Pascucci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Further to my question earlier, and this goes to the Associate Director, regarding to this new law 53 or whatever it is, Act 53 that's just been passed yesterday. The question I'd like to know is how is it going to impact us? And you may not have the answers directly, but we can wait for the response, not tonight, but later on, sooner the better. What kind of effect will it have to us in terms of what we collect right now when things are sold, condos are sold, homes are sold, development charges are paid, et cetera? We don't have a right to tax, and as a consequence, we may have shortfalls, and as a consequence of that, we would have an issue. So I'd like to ask the question to Daniel, if you could, and what you know at this point, because I know this is still very fresh, what's the effect it will have on us in terms of cash flow, working with other communities, working with other public bodies, et cetera?
Thank you, and through the chair, for trustees not familiar, we're Trustee Pascucci. Mayor Pascucci is referencing Bill 23, the More Homes Built Faster Act. And what that is basically doing is allowing the development of homes on what would otherwise have historically been protected greenbelt lands. And not only approving the development or approving municipalities to go ahead with development, but also fast-tracking a lot of these developments, where in the past you had to get site plan approvals, you needed the local conservation authority would have to provide an update or approval. So they're looking at eliminating a lot of those approvals and really fast-tracking. So there's impacts on us a couple ways. One, we won't know the true impact until the municipalities themselves assess how it impacts them. So what lands do they have available, what they plan on building on those lands, how many homes they plan on building on those lands. And to answer your first question, once that's determined, then we can go back and open up our education development charges bylaw, captures those units in and adjust the charge accordingly so that we make sure that we're collecting on the building permits well before a shovel goes into the ground. But we're still ways away from that point. The first step in that process is every municipality across this province, well, especially within the Greenbelt, maybe not across the province, is going to have to assess how it impacts them. So how many new homes can they build in the areas identified? And then once they've identified that, then they start to work through the secondary planning process, the block planning process, the plan of subdivision process, and registered plans. So we're still, even though they're trying to fast track the process, there's a number of steps along the way that they have to. We still have the ability to designate schools, and our hope is that, and we see signs of it already coming from the ministry, to really fast track our ability to go for a building permit, site plan approval. So as long as if they're fast tracking homes, they need to fast track our ability to construct a school as well, which I believe they're going to do.
If I may, Madam Chair, I want to thank you because that is a lot more than I knew half-hour. It's recognized this is an evolving item. It will hit us somehow, and I'd like staff sort of come back to us within 4 to 6 months from now and see what we have found, if anything new. Maybe a simple report, nothing's new, but at least it would be our responsibility as trustees to determine what's occurring. This begs the second question to me, if I may, Madam Chair, is the idea of should we get in touch with our local communities or cities, Brampton, Mississauga, Caledons, Boltons of the world. Should we get in touch with them? Because I know one organization, you have the cities, but you also have the regions. there's a massive impact potential of, so the newspapers say, or not newspapers, sorry, the radio say, that there's going to be an expense, an extreme expense based on taxes and property taxes, et cetera. This is one huge ball of spaghetti, so to speak, because everything touches another. So the answer to the question I've is should we, at this point, communicate our concern, or sorry, bring the city's, our concern, recognizing that this is really a provincial matter? What's the best approach we can take? Thanks, Manager.
So through the chair, my suggestion would be it's a bit premature now because we're not really certain what our concern is at the moment. We have mechanisms in place, just like we had for the last 20 years as growth has been going all over Brampton specifically. But we have those mechanisms in place. As long as those mechanisms haven't been adjusted or changed or taken away from us, we have those stop measures and those points along the line where we as a school board have the authority to approve or not approve plans of subdivision. I say it's premature now because I don't even believe the municipalities understand how truly it impacts them. We are one of a number of stakeholders they need to consult before they move ahead. So as that consultation process starts, we will continue to bring those updates to trustees to say this is where Mississauga is, Brampton is, Caledon is, and this is how it could potentially impact. So you'll more than likely, you'll see those updates come through when we bring our annual update of the long-term facilities master plan. And you'll see we typically bring the enrollment projections, what that impact is, long-term development, and that'll become a component of that update on an annual basis.
Is it possible, Madam Chair, to request staff, through you to the director, to have this come to us sometime in May, June next year in terms of the impact? Realizing what I said about it 5 seconds ago, I was saying you may not have information.
Through the chair, might I suggest that you leave that open enough to say once staff has more relevant information to bring forward?
That sounds
that they bring it forward.
Madam Chair, if I may ask, this brings the question, and you may have answered it in the sense you're saying it's maybe premature, where we're looking at a number of resolutions for Oxta, and recognizing Oxta would be our voice. I guess it is a bit mature, I suppose, to bring it to Oxta in a form of a motion, but can we create a skeletal type motion where we can sort of look at it, and if we have to react quickly, we can look at it quickly, or look at it at that point? Realizing this is due late, these motions are due late January.
Through the chair, it would be helpful if you clarify what the concern would be, because it would be difficult to put together a resolution without some specificity around it.
The overall scheme is basically how it's going to be affecting us. That's the direction of the motion that I like to see. But then again, like I said a moment ago, it is too early to determine how it's going to affect us. The concern I would have, it'll actually be 1 year before we come back to this issue.
Through the chair, there's also the possibility that we could be positively impacted.
Yes, of
by
course,
the
and this is the
decision. So
discussion. May I leave it in staff's best?
yes,
Just let me leave it with you. You know where I want to go with it, and
Yep.
I don't have the board's approval on this because it may take a while to accumulate this information. The last question, then I have more questions later, but I'll wait my turn, but green belt. Can you show us where the green belt is in Dufferin Peel? Like if you can give us a small map or something like that, because there's issues regarding building on green belts and what have you. I have an idea where it is. I see signs. Can we have that?
through the chair, can we put that in issues and events? Because what we'd like to do is
Excellent.
seek clarification exactly with regards to which green belt in Ontario is being affected by the Building Better Homes
Thank you.
Faster bill.
Thank you for your indulgence, everybody. Appreciate it.
Trustee Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is to you, Madam Director. A couple of years ago, you sent a circular to all the principals not to have Tuesday's parent council meeting. Nowadays, because there are many new principals, they are not following, they are calling the parent council meeting on Tuesdays. Can you please direct to all the principals through you or the family of superintendents to give a direction not to have a parent council meeting on Tuesdays? Because the trustees can at least we having a board meeting, committee meeting on Tuesdays. So when they call the parent council, at least the trustees, if those who are available, they can attend the meeting. Can you please follow
Through
that?
the chair, we'll ensure that that reminder is delivered.
Okay, thank you very much.
To this point, trustee Stefano Pascucci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to, on this point as well, can we ensure that principals communicate with trustees when all their meetings are, as soon as they are known, and not a day, 2 days before, or a day of? Also to ensure that they recognize that trustees are very busy and that if we do have multiple meetings, that we have to make sure that we can actually like to get to all the schools possible. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. To this point again, trustee Pascucci.
I have a number of, thank you, I have a number of schools have done their due diligence, sending me the information. I thank them. But sometimes when I get the notification, it's like being on list B, I guess. They should know when the things get determined sometime in September, October. Recognizing this time of year that we've gone through and we're going through the formality of setting something back and going back to the old process. But I agree, there have been times where I'm saying, we got a meeting, something tonight or tomorrow night. Give me a break. And I recognize we also say to them, you know, don't tell them that we are busy. We'll determine that we're busy. But this is totally unacceptable. I mean, if whoever's doing it at the school or whatever should be told, you have the dates for the entire year. Give it to us. So, thank you very much. But like I said, there are a number of my schools in my area I want to thank for submitting that information in a very timely manner, and I thank the superintendent for that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Nobody else to this point? Oh, one more?
Because I get an invitation, the meeting on 6 o'clock, I got an invitation for 4:58 p.m. Okay, so you know we're having other things, other programs on agenda. We cannot go and our time to go to parent council meetings, you know, different locations. Okay, so this way, if they knew this when they're having a parent council around September, end of September, October, they set up all the parent council meeting. At least they can inform earlier to all trustees, okay, these are the dates we're having a parent council meeting. Or same thing, the open house, same. Open house, many schools, they invite open houses, but we don't know why they are not following that direction. They are not even inviting the trustees to the open house. If you can give a direction, same thing our family of superintendents, they can give a direction to the principal. You have to invite the local trustees. If you have 2 trustees, invite 2 trustees or 3 trustees, you know. So I'll appreciate that to follow that. That way we can get involved the local schools.
Through the chair, we'll follow up.
Thank you. Are you done? Any more follow-ups to this? No? Trustee Stefano Pascucci, you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had another question. I forgot about it. Can we, through you, Madam Chair, to Madam Director or whoever wants to answer it, can we ensure that when we communicate extended French programs or gifted programs or other programs in our schools, can we ensure that we actually send it out to all the parents and promote it to all the parents as much as possible? There was a question at the CSAC meeting where a parent didn't know what was going on at any program or at any school, or which schools even had certain schisms. So is it possible for us to get communication out there? Obviously now we're in the time where students are looking for schisms for specific programs for themselves.
Through the chair, yes, we can.
Thank you very much.
Enhance our communication.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Mario Pascucci?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can wait because.
No, go ahead. You do it now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, to go back to that point regarding communications and having information on websites, there's a lot of, they have the trustee's name, but not the number, phone number. And, I mean, I appreciate that, but we're not part of the school, literally. We're not there 24 hours, 24/7, or weekends, whatever, but the idea of having phone numbers on the first page, whatever you want to talk about, it's called, to have your numbers on there is important. I looked on a number of sites and they did not have it. But I know that's something that IT is starting to work on, and then it might take a while to recognize. Another item I want to talk about, in fact, is I mentioned it prior to the election, that I like the recognition. I mentioned it to the superintendent, sorry, to Bruce. I'd like to have some kind of a recognition recognition wall for students who've graduated from Dufferin Peel and work with Peel as a trustee. There's a recognition that a lot of these individuals come through the system and they shared the Dufferin Peel situation. And these are trustees that literally have gone to our schools and won elections and should be recognized. And I'm not looking for big plaques of something, but just a recognition. It houses itself in the lounge, in the public is fine, but we have to recognize the Arthur Peters of the world. Thank you.
Through the chair, we'll look into that request.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Bria Corbett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just have a few questions about final exams for the secondary students. Has there been a decision made about what's happening with their final exams for secondary students at the end of the first semester?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee Breed's question, yes, there has been a decision. We'll go back and see how that's been communicated, or if that's been communicated.
Through the chair, thank you. My question was going to be if there was a decision made, if it has been communicated yet. So
We'll take that back and follow up.
that's fair, thank you. And through the chair, I have a secondary school that is going to be offering an exam prep workshops for students. It's supported by a lot of staff. So there's academic resource department head, there's SST teachers, guidance counselors, classroom teachers, child and youth workers. The program starts in December. It'll run through January. I believe it's in person every Tuesday and Thursday. So this is one of the secondary schools I have. It's going to be great for student success, but also for easing anxiety. They're working on study skills, time management. So from an equity perspective, I think it's important if this can be offered in all of our secondary schools to all of our students. I understand this might just be a unique situation, maybe a grant they've accessed. I'm not sure of all the details. I just want to put it on your radar that if this is possible in one school, hopefully it can be possible in more schools. So if you can follow up with that, and perhaps our student trustees might like to be included in that discussion as well. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you for that. As part of the October 24th PA Day, secondary schools had the opportunity to come up with a plan locally as to how they were going to address exam preparation. And we're very proud of the work that's going on in a lot of schools, such as referenced by Trustee Corbett this evening. We'll take that back to include that as part of an arsenal or a spectrum of plans that can be used in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, not to this item, Madam Chair. Brandon.
A separate question?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to staff regarding update on St. Sophia. I know there was a meeting recently at the community, and I just want to know when the intention is to bring it forward back to staff, back to the board.
So, thank you, and through the chair, a number of us were out at the school council meeting 2 weeks ago to provide a status update with regards to the numbers, both St. Sophia's enrollment numbers as well as our tracking of Ukrainian students since we kept the school in June. We shared with them that a couple of things. One, the numbers haven't increased to the extent by which everyone thought they were going to increase. Meanwhile, the numbers at St. Sophia itself, the cap numbers, students have, those numbers have gone down. Still not far enough down to utilize the school as it was intended to be used. They're still taking advantage of spaces that weren't designed as classroom spaces. So we still have to get that number further down. We presented to the community at that time the same options that we presented back in June. You know, we can look at moving the school. We can look at trying to start a second school. However, the numbers don't justify it without touching the core St. Sophia group of students. And then we can look at extending the cap of the school for one more year until we have a better idea what those numbers are. As we mentioned to the community, as we've shared with everybody here, there is no perfect solution for the school without impacting somebody or some member of the community. And the school itself, both the school council that was there and those that were attending online, acknowledged the fact that there are no clear solutions. If we go down the route of capping the school one more year, much like all other capped schools, and we shared it with the community as well that night, we'd have to look at a random selection process for junior kindergarten, which is something new to the school and something the school's never experienced before. So while on the one hand, they all understood that capping the school and continuing to monitor the situation is probably the most prudent action, as opposed to moving the school in its entirety or splitting the school in half or starting a second school. There were obviously some concerns raised, at least by those in attendance, that well, what is the random selection process and what does that mean for us? So we took away some information that night. They shared information with regards to what the federal government is anticipating with regards to the number of Ukrainian families entering Canada over the course of the next year. We don't know exactly where they're coming to, or where they're landing, or where they're going to reside. They also shared some information, or two things happened. One, the school community was going to work through the school administrator. If they had any further questions, comments, or concerns, they were going to share them with us. And the other option, too, is looking at potentially, while we continue to assess what's happening there, is look at a region-wide survey to find out how many students, both our students, as potentially maybe students at other school boards at the moment that reside within our boundaries, would be interested in a school like St. Sophia, a Byzantine Rite school. So we had a number of takeaways. We shared what we knew with the community, and with those in attendance, the extension of the cap seems to be their preferred, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that there were definitely concerns with the random selection process, although we explained that it currently occurs at a number of our other schools that are capped as well.
Thank you very much. And we were all invited by John, the principal, and I thank you for that, and the community as well, and the staff. I was on for a while, then got kicked out, but
We saw you.
yeah, we saw me. But the thing is that when will we have an opportunity to address this issue at the board table, recognizing how important it is, but also recognizing there's a number of people who have left, families have left, and either gone somewhere else.
Sure. Through the chair, the data would suggest, as we track students, that even those that attended St. Sophia last year have now moved out of that school community or have gone to their home or local school. So you can see them come in through St. Sophia, and then they demit themselves and enroll in another Dufferin Peel school. We know even through the school principal that a number of families have gone back to Ukraine. So I think a number of us were there in June when we spoke to the school council and all the families online. And at that time, if you were in attendance, you would think that the number of Ukrainian families and students would have been triple or quadruple what it is right now. But I think at last count, once we capped the school, I think there's between 130 and 150 students elsewhere attending Dufferin Peel schools. So we're on a bit of a time crunch. We understand that. I mean, JK enrollment starts in the new year, and we have one more board meeting left this year that I think we would have to take full advantage of to address the issue.
Is it the intention to come to the Admin and Finance Committee, or is it to the intention to come through the board?
Through the chair, we have one more board meeting prior to the end of
December.
the end of December.
Thank you. Thank you for the extended.
Trustee Bruno Inica?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I need clarification. Did I hear correctly that they're okay with the random selection? Or-
Through the chair, no, they have concerns with the random selection process. It's brand new to them, right? But as I mentioned, there are no options that anybody in that community said this is what we should do. I mean, we looked at potentially moving the school in its entirety to a larger facility, and we heard that there is a certain bond not only to the location of the school within the community, but the actual school itself. We discussed even last year the possibility of maybe taking a portion of the grade, either it's designated grades or a portion of the school, and moving it elsewhere. And again, there's a lot, as you can imagine, a lot of pushback and concerns with that as well. So while I believe everybody likes the idea of capping the school, there is absolutely some concerns with regards to the random selection process, as it's a brand new process for the community.
So, if I could, just for my clarification, will there or will there not be a selection process in Jake?
Through the chair, you're going to have to give staff some time to work through this, because in fairness, we also have to ensure that we're working extensively with the school community before any kind of decision. So I'm a little bit concerned as well at trying to bring something forward on December 13th. So it might mean another year of just exploring and looking through this and ensuring that we've worked with the communities.
Yeah, I'm glad that's the process, because I'll tell you, I've been involved in the St. James random, and I can tell you, they have yelled and screamed when their kids don't get, and I can just imagine how it would be I don't think it would be any different in that community than it was the other. So I'm appreciative of the explanation. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Trustee Armand Beloria?
Okay. Sorry. I have a question regarding school support, separate school support. I know that we insist that all of our parents who bring their kids to our schools have to support the separate school system. But do we do the same with our employees?
Through the chair, we do not.
Is there a reason why we do not?
Well, through the chair, we do encourage them to.
We can make the policy that they should support the separate school system?
Through the chair, not all of our employees are Catholic.
But the majority are.
Through the chair, that's correct. If it is the desire of the trustees to develop a policy in that regard,
I
then
would think so, because it's more money for the separate school system.
through the chair, then that could be brought up at the next bylaw and policy committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't aware of that. I was assuming that all employees of the school board would be supporting the separate school board.
Through the chair, I recall years and years ago that it was a requirement of employees, but I think the challenge now is you can't really direct. So perhaps maybe, Trustee Valoria, what we can do is put something in issues and events to provide some background around that. But if it is the will of the trustees to go down the path of putting a policy together, you could do that at bylaw and policy, but we'd like to have an opportunity to provide some background around challenges associated with that.
Okay, Thank you.
At this point, Trustee Ayanika, followed by.
Madam Chair, you're absolutely dead right. There's history there, and I didn't like the history. So I would agree that we go back and look at what we did, how we did it, and what we would wish to do, and the challenges and opportunities that we had in getting to that point. So you're absolutely right, Madam Director. There is history, and if all trustees could be reminded of that history, because I do remember it. I don't remember it 100%, but what I do remember leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So the history lesson would be good for all of us.
To the chair, we'll put a background together.
Okay, thank you, Madam
Trustee Paula.
Hi, thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to ask a question, please. My question is, while I was canvassing throughout Orangeville and Shelburne, there was a number of questions regarding, they want a secondary school in that area. I know that there's an awful lot of growth in the Caledon East. There's over 600 homes being developed just across the way from me. And I know that's going to be a lot of students filling up Robert F. Hall. My question is it a future, a future issue? Are you guys interested in opening up a secondary school in Orangeville and to support them? Because they have to get on buses early, and I had that same scenario growing up in that area. I had to be bused to Brampton. So, it is a huge concern, and it has been for quite a long time. And I'd like this, I'd like to know if you guys are considering, because it's important for the students as they exit the elementary school. The parents want them to continue in a Catholic education without having to do so much travel, if you can understand that.
Through the chair, can absolutely sympathize with the students up in that area, and we would love to build Catholic schools all over the place, but I'm going to ask Associate Director Del Bianco to explain the process that we need to go through in order to be even eligible for one.
Thank you, and through the trustees, we typically, or the province usually typically funds us for it does fund us for high schools, right? The province through a business case submission, and when we submit a business case to the province, we have to demonstrate not only the short-term but the long-term enrollments at that school to make sure it's a viable school. So the construction of a high school that we would typically build, 1,200 or 1,500 people place high school, you need to demonstrate that there's population and growth in that community or in that area to sustain 12 or 1,500 pupil places. And the projections for that area right now don't, even though there's a number of homes being built there, you need 10, 20,000 homes to build a school and keep a secondary school. So it's not even us. It's not that we sit on a bank account to build a high school. We need to submit a business case to the Ministry of Education, and it has to be supported by both enrollment growth and land in that area, and then the ministry decides whether or not it's a viable business case, and they fund the project. Right now, based on our current enrollments and projections for that community, now again, the Greenbelt, the changes that we were talking about earlier may impact that, but until such time as we have those numbers, there's just not enough students or not enough homes to support Catholic secondary school in that community. And as we'll see, we typically bring reports in early January or February that discuss our enrollments by community. The planning department will reach out to trustees, as they've done almost every single year, to talk about what's going on in your specific communities, what the growth is like, what growth is anticipated to be like, what the condition of those facilities are. And then we bring that report to the Board of Trustees every year. We bring an update in January, February, or February, March with regards to not only enrollments by school, by area, but as well as the condition of your schools. So as it sits right now, there's not enough to sustain it, but we will definitely share more information about the number of homes, number of students, what those yields are in the new year with you as well.
Trustee Mary Pascucci, do you still have a comment?
There's a comment through you to Trustee.
Regarding separate schools?
Yes. It's interesting when you bring this up, because Oxta has been dealing with this, and I know the history lesson's going to come to this work, which I'm going to look forward to. Oxta has presented this concept of choice, not necessarily forcing an individual, but choice that when you move, you have the option going A or B, and the fact is that everything defaults. And then Oxta knows about this. We've approved many motions at this table. I went to AGMs, and they're still working on it. So what's happened since is that we're getting very, very close. A number of reasons what's happened is because there's government issues, changing governments, et cetera. We're getting very close because now the same government's been moving forward. And as a consequence of that, I was sort of told that we're looking at possibly the next budget where something may, in fact, be sent regarding not defaulting, but you have the option A or B, separate or non-separate. So I know what you're saying, but we're halfway there. This one-on-one course would be actually great because there's a lot of opportunities here to work with it. Oxta is fully aware of it. 29 Catholic boards across the province are fully aware of it. Every trustee here and 285 trustees, whatever it is. So you asked the question. But regarding forcing,
May I make a comment? Well, this came to the fore because of the election. And people then found out, oh, I'm not a separate school supporter? How long has this been going on? Maybe it has gone on for 4 years or 3 years, and they've lost all of that support.
Okay, so just a point of clarification. Trustee Maria Pascucci is talking about the default. When you move, it defaults to public school. And that's one of the things that, as individuals, they should be looking at it. And we had that are you TIC information that we sent out to all the schools and everything. So I just want to clarify that.
Through you, Madam Chair, but there are also examples of people who never moved, have been in the same residence for a number of years, and still have defaulted to the public system.
I believe that's the reason for the municipal voting resolution that we did, because we have those situations. I actually personally have voters that have been voting that not even on the list in the last election. So that's the purpose of the municipal voting resolution. Did that clarify that whole thing? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? I just have one quick question. Could I just move the chair to you? Sorry. At one of the council meetings I attended, they offered a hybrid opportunity for parents to attend meetings. So there are in person and there's hybrid. The problem they had is the technology that they have in the school. They either couldn't hear or couldn't function very well. So the question I had was, is there an opportunity or a possibility we can improve what technology they can use when they do hybrid meetings?
Through the chair, if you can identify offline, if you can identify the school, then we can look at how we can go out and support the school in enhancing that experience.
Will do. I've got a couple right now on top of my head. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No more questions.
No more questions.
Okay, then back to you. Back to you.
We're back to me. So before we move into, seeing no other questions, before we move into the declared interest items, we just have a couple of clarifications that the director would like to.
Yes, through the chair, we do need to clarify the Oxta director terms. So the Oxta director terms actually end in 2023. And that's what Trustee Pascucci was questioning, and I'm sorry I did not pick up on that. But just before the AGM that will come up, I believe in April of 2023, we'll come back to the Board of Trustees again and have you identify the 2 directors that will represent the board. I'm not sure if that changes the outcome here this evening. Okay. So just for clarification, Trustee Xavier, your term will go to I think it will be March, well, April. It goes to the AGM, but that there will be a vote just prior to the AGM to identify the two individuals. That will take the next 2-year term. The other piece we need to clarify, this is just for the minutes, it has to do with the seconder of the CSAC minutes. And thank you to Trustee D'Amato Giovanozzi, but you weren't at that meeting, so you can't second it. We should have picked up on that.
Yeah. Well, who's your alternate? CSAC. No. Are you the alternate for CSAC? No.
Yes.
SEAC. No one I don't think it's, nobody remembers. So why don't we just,
Through the chair, the person that seconds it has to have been at that meeting.
oh,
Through you, Madam Chair.
Bruno? Yes.
CSAC?
No, through you, Madam Chair.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, through you, Madam Chair. What Madam Director mentioned about the other individual having to be there, that's not typically how it works. With SEAC, it's the chair, the trustee is the chair, and then the other trustee is there to make the approval. At CSAC, it's just, well, it would just be me, unless the alternate was there. So,
Unless your alternate attends with.
unless they attend as well. So,
Through the chair, you're just receiving the minutes.
yes.
The actual approval will
Otherwise,
happen at the
becoming
committee, so
so
it's fine.
complicated. Thank you.
So who will be our seconder for this minute? Anybody? Trustee Bruno Anika seconded that minute. Yeah. Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, I have a point of clarification too. Can we vote on approving the minutes if you are not present?
Through the chair, you're receiving the minutes.
Receiving.
Okay.
So the minutes will be in your package for your review. You're not approving them.
It's just received. Okay. Next item in the agenda is the declared interest item. Yeah. So don't go too far. Be quick. Famous words. Not too far. It's close. Okay, so the declared interest item is A7, the minutes of the regular board meeting October 25, 2022, item L1. Could I have a mover? Moved by Trustee Sean Xavier, seconded by Trustee Bria Corbett. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Wanna call them back? Don't go too far. All right. Okay, so could I have, we're now moving into in-camera session. Could I have somebody move for in-camera? Moved by Trustee Darrell D'Souza, seconded by Trustee Anisha Thomas. All in favor? Okay, so we will be on, yes, so for those watching via YouTube at the Board of Trustees meeting are going into in-camera session. Feel free to wait until return to open session, or if not, if you're not able to, we thank you for attending Dufferin Peel Catholic District School Board regular meeting of November 29, 2022. welcome back to the open session of the regular board meeting of Dauphinville Catholic District School Board. So could we have the report from in-camera?
Yes. There's approval of the Board of Trustee in camera, regular board meeting October 25, 2022. Then approval of the in camera session of the special board meeting November 8, 2022. Next one, minutes of the in camera session of the Administration and Finance Committee meeting October 4, 2022. Minute of the in camera session of the Faith and Program Committee meeting October 11, 2022. Person issue verbal report. Then administrative appointment and transfers. Motion recommended by the Audit Committee November 8, 2022. Letter received from the Ministry of Education dated November 2022. And some question and answers.
Could I have motion to receive the in-camera report? Moved by Trustee Stephanie, seconded by Trustee Bria Corbett. All in favor? Thank you. And now future meetings. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, December 13, 2022. Could I get somebody move adjournment? Moved by Trustee Sean Xavier, seconded by Trustee Bruno Ainica. All in favor? Carried. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone who's
Night.
watching
Good
us
night.
from YouTube. Thank you.